Okay. So this headline was from The Guardian in October, basically complaining that advertisers don't want to spend any more money on digital advertising, and it's not really they're not spending money on print advertising, not spending money on digital advertising. It's not really taking up the slack. So this is why I think that this is going on. I think digital advertising is not really as effective as people thought it was going to be. I'm sorry to say. So this is an ad that was targeted to me like last week. This ad on the right is for a defense contractor. I think it's advertising a B-2 stealth bomber. I'm not going to buy that. I don't know why I was targeted with this, but I think it's probably because I was looking at some stuff, kind of scientific stuff, and there's something about satellites there and some space balloons or whatever. So they kind of used the context of the page that I was looking at to decide which ad to show me. If I go to the next slide, can I just ask who remembers what the ad was for on the first slide? What? There was an ad on the first slide. What was it for? Exactly, a couple of hands. So it's Dolce & Gabbana's perfume. I'm not going to buy this either. But the point here is that probably I had this slide up for about 10 seconds. That's about 10 times longer than is the acceptable time for an ad to be classed as viewed by the IAB. So that's 1 second. So I had that for about 10 seconds. Ads need to be relevant, really, to have any impact. So one kind of approach to making ads relevant is to, typically a publisher will go through their website, they'll tag up the pages which are relevant to a specific topic. This example is camera lenses. Like they may have a forum about camera lenses, they'll manually tag up that forum and say, and this is about camera lenses. So now everyone who's been to that forum will then get shown ads about camera lenses. That's how that works. It kind of makes sense, right? But it's very expensive because someone has to do that job, and it's also really inaccurate because you might want a camera lens but not visit forums about camera lenses. So the company I work for is Skimlinks. We have a different way of doing this. I'll give you just a very quick intro to what Skimlinks does. So our core business doesn't really have anything to do with targeted ads. It's got something to do with affiliate links. So this is when you go to a website, you click on a link, you buy, in this case, a duffel bag. The publisher who generated that click, who had the link on their webpage, will get some money from the people who sold the duffel bag. So that's what the affiliate business is all about. The product works well, it's free to install, and it's basically free money for the publisher. So we end up being on a lot of publishers' sites. So there are some big names here, Time Inc., Daily Mail, Huffington Post, people like that. So those are the publishers, and then the merchants who pay the money are these guys. These are some big numbers. It's a big data conference after all, so I should tell you that. So what do we do with all of this data that we're collecting on all these publishers' sites and for clicks to the merchant sites? So I haven't got a pointer here, but the green squares are visits to web pages. So these are 3 different users. They're visiting some web pages, some publisher pages, which are the green things, and then eventually they're clicking on some product pages on a merchant site, and those are the red pages. So you can see the first person's looking at 2 different publishers, both fashion related, it looks like, and then they end up on a merchant site looking at some bags. The middle guy's looking at some cameras, and then the last guy, slightly sadly, is looking at the fastest car in the world, goes on to see the top 5 family cars, and then it ends up on this page about the best value cars in the world. So the point is that we use this data across all of the publishers to figure out what kinds of products people are interested in. So no more manual tagging of pages is the idea. We do some big data stuff, and then we put people into these audience segments. So these are 2 different types of audiences. One we call wants to buy. These are people who are interested in specific products, and then about to buy, which is they've made a decision, they know what they're about to buy, and they're going to go ahead and make that purchase. So just to give you a bit of detail on how this actually works, every day we're collecting around 1 terabyte of data from the publishers. That's over there on the left. We'll process all of that data using Spark to generate daily profiles, which are around 2 gigs in size. We've really compressed the data at this point. and then we build monthly profiles of each user, and then we run algorithms on the monthly profiles in order to predict what users are interested in which products. So we do a lot of machine learning enrichment at this step, which I'll go into. And if anyone has any questions on how we've got on with Spark in production and that as a Spark case study, then do ask questions about that. So the machine learning enrichment, this is an example. This is a web page about a Prada handbag. We basically do a lot of natural language processing to find out what brands have been mentioned on each page, and then which products have been mentioned on each page. So we then use this to build a model. So this is a model of someone who's interested in women's bags, basically. So we use some various different machine learning algorithms. In this case, this is a logistic regression. And logistic regression has the property that different features can have different weights. So this is ordered in terms of weights. So the biggest weights signal is that someone's actually visited a product on a merchant site for a handbag. That's a very strong signal that that person's interested in buying a bag. But we have these other things, like they're interested in food and cooking, for instance. They go to specific blogs about handbags and stuff. I've kind of obfuscated our publishers' domains here, because for obvious reasons, but you can insert some of those big names from the other slide in your head. So there are hundreds of signals in each model. I've just shown you a few of the top ones here. But this relies on that natural language processing, because we needed to know that the content's about bags and it's about Prada in order to generate this model. This is another example. This is the one that the title is all about. So this is theatre tickets. People are interested in, obviously, if they click on theatre tickets as a product, or they're interested in the arts. But this is a slightly weird thing of that people who are interested in gardening equipment are really interested in the theatre. We don't really know why that is, but it kind of makes sense. You know, people who own their own houses, have lots of time in their hands maybe, possibly retired. These are the people who are interested in theatre tickets. So these patterns are being revealed by the data. This one's nice. This is motorbike accessories. Some obvious things, people who actually visit forums about motorbikes. But then second from the bottom, you have this thing about divorce. I mean, what comes first? I don't know. I don't really know. But the data doesn't lie, right? This is real. This is a real pattern. So that's about how we generate our models. This now is about how we use the data to test the models, because most of us in data science, we know that it's very, very easy to get misled by the data. There's so many biases, so much missing data. It's very often to build these amazing models and that look really fancy, but are actually not working. So we're really rigorous about testing things. So, so this diagram shows some rows, which are the segments. So we think these people are interested in toys. These other people are interested in fashion. These other people are interested in technology. We just follow them around for a month, online, obviously. And we ask, what do they end up purchasing? Did our predictions come true? If it was just random, we would expect, we would not expect this kind of diagonal thing to show. The diagonal is the fact that we are predicting very specific effects. So that's what we want. This is what we see in practice. We have, I think, around 100 segments here, and this is the kind of result that we get from our predictions. So that's nice. So that's building models, testing models, and then we can also use the data to inform out the advertisers how they should be running their campaigns. This is the third thing that we use data for. So this is recommendations now. So BarkBox, they basically have a subscription-based gifts for dogs. So they're really expensive. Well, they're high-end, let's say. High-end gifts for dogs. And this is the profile of people that we think are interested in these products. So this is now very specific. We're now not just talking about pet supplies in general. We're now talking about a very specific brand. And we can make some recommendations about which of our segments are going to be useful in this campaign. And we can see some kind of possibly counterintuitive things, or maybe unexpected, let's say, things like education, careers, business and finance, cosmetics, gourmet food, and so on. And these numbers here are the probabilities that someone someone will, the ratio and probabilities that someone will end up purchasing from this brand, given that they're in these audience segments. People are interested in health food vitamins. And this is another brand, this is Pet Mountain, which is basically pet supplies in volume. So you just buy loads of dog food or some other things that dogs use. And it's fairly cheap. And you can see that the profile here of the users is it's kind of everyday grocery DIY equipment. Quite a different kind of profile to the previous slide, which was about BarkBox. And that's quite interesting, I think, because previously people really would have been stuck with pet supplies. This person has a pet. They're probably interested in pet supplies. That's it. So this gives you a much more fine-grained view of what's going on, and that is really because of the scale of the data. So this is a summary. I've just shown you how you can create models, test the models, and then inform campaigns using the data. And now I'd like to invite Emma Martin to the stage, and she can talk to you about how the guys at ESI actually use this data in practice in the real world.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm probably the least technical person in this entire room. My role is at the Evening Standard and the Independent, and I sit somewhere between the data teams. I am in the data team, but I actually service the commercial team. So I spent most of the morning sitting here going, that's what my data analyst teams actually do, and this kind of stuff I have to deal with. So massive kudos to all of you for understanding what all the amazing stuff that data does. At ESI, so as I said, that's the Evening Standard, the Independent, the I100 and the iNewspaper, we've always known the importance and the power of our data. We've used it for shaping editorial strategy, for developing new products. But more and more, we are focusing on using it for creating really compelling commercial campaigns with our advertising partners. The more data and the more information we have about our users, the more we can help the brands to speak to them in the most relevant and timely manner. So about 2 years ago, we invested into a data management platform which allows us to bring together all of our data sources from across the business into one place. We can then do some analysis with that data and create segments that brands can buy. On the last look, I think I'd built just over 800 different audience segments. I will say that some of those were test segments that didn't work and will never see the light of day again. However, the vast majority of them, ranging from high net worth individuals down to people, students looking for a new rental property, are available for advertisers to buy. We create those segments with a mixture of first, second, and third-party data. So first party is the stuff we get in ourselves. So we get information on gender and postcode, likes, all kinds of stuff like that when people register with us. We also have information on the search terms they've used across the site. And we have e-commerce sites as well. So we get some information in about what people are buying. We can then overlay that with clients' own data as well. So sometimes we've got clients who are willing to share their CRM database with us, and we can use that to do lookalike modelling and a whole range of other amazing things. And then lastly, we have a few select third-party data providers that we can use to fill in any of the blanks that we don't currently, any answers that we don't currently have about our user base. But not all third-party data is created equal. As a media owner, I need to go out and basically sell your data in collaboration with my own to make sure that my advertisers are feeling just as much trust in your data as they do in mine. And I need 3 key things from a third-party data provider. I need accuracy, I need reach, and I need versatility. So accuracy is important because brands are buying data-led audience campaigns because they A, have a specific audience they want to reach, and B, they want to eliminate wastage. They don't want to be speaking to people who are totally irrelevant to them. So we spend quite a long time really interrogating the methodologies of all of our third-party data providers just to make sure that we trust their data as much as we trust our own. We then also need reach. I need lots and lots of people. We work with some of the biggest global brands in the world, and they want to be speaking to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people at a time. So if your data can match a few hundred or a few thousand people to my user base, I'm probably not going to put the time and the money in investing and onboarding your data. But this obviously comes from Where's Wally. Has everyone spotted where he is? Anyone spotted where he is? Yeah, up at the back? By the table. Yeah, okay, good. It took me a little while. Good work. So this actually has 2 representations. Not only is it sheer volume of people, but it's also that actually having lots of people in kind of the opposite way to Where's Wally, that actually really helps me. It makes it hard on Where's Wally, but for me, lots and lots of people in data segments allows me to find that one or two sort of very bespoke niche segments that some of our smaller advertisers might want. And that brings me on to versatility, the third thing that I really need. So I need those top line segments. I need people interested in fashion to be millions of people, but I also need lots of subcategories within that so I can really drive down within the data. If we've got two people, a man interested in men's shoes and a woman interested in a handbag, they'll both fall into an interested in fashion category. But showing them the same creative is unlikely to engender any form of engagement across both of them. What I really need is the ability to optimise a campaign to show men's shoes to the man who's looking for shoes and the handbag to the woman looking for a handbag. ESI were able to get all three of those things from Skimlinks. They, as Martin's just been through, they've got fantastic algorithms, they have fantastic reach across the e-commerce industry, but they also have human sense checkers that just gives that double check to make sure the machines are really doing their job. And because of the way we can really go out and talk very proudly about our data partnership, we've just signed the single biggest audience targeting deal in ESI's history with a major, wait for it, high street leisure and retail destination. That's their words, not mine. The campaign that we've got is a partnership that we're running throughout the whole of 2016. Now, the nature of Skimlinks taxonomy allows us to not only have large segments, fashion, technology, all those kinds of things that we'll be running throughout the entire year, but they've also got some quite niche segments so we can actually upweight those at particular seasonal times. So this represents February, when we're going to have people looking for their perfect Valentine's Day gift, and we can upweight the jewellery, the lingerie, the chocolates, the roses, to message people to say that perhaps they can continue their Valentine's Day purchases offline. And then, of course, in the summer, those whose purchase behaviours have suggested that they've got kids, they'll see adverts for the best children's toys and paddling pools. And then, of course, Christmas 2016, we'll be able to show all those people looking for Christmas trees for the best baubles as well. And hopefully, this time next year, I'll be back here telling you just how well that campaign's gone. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. We have 2 speakers, so we're going to have 4 questions. I'm feeling generous. So, who wants to go first? Over there.
Hi, this is to you. Sorry, I forgot your name.
Martin, hi.
Martin, hi. Thank you for your presentation. Just wondering, you mentioned NLP analysis and other things. Do you use sentiment analysis as well? Because what if I'm berating a Prada bag? Surely that's not as useful.
You mean if you're reading an article where someone else has berated the Prada bag?
Yeah, quite.
Yeah, I mean, we do not at the moment. We could. Do you think? Yeah, I guess it could be useful. I mean, if you're interested in a brand, the fact that you read something that's negative about the brand, is it going to stop you reading? I don't know. It's a debatable question. It's another signal that we could look at. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Thanks.
Okay, we have 2 questions over here. We'll start there, because the microphone is closest. And go there. We have Martin and Emma, by the way.
Cool. I think to both of you. So I guess the Skimlinks data comes into this third-party data category. I'm just wondering, what's the kind of scale, what proportion of visitors are actually described by this kind of data? Can you actually get the Skimlinks stuff on? Because presumably it's not everyone who ever comes to one of your digital properties, it's a proportion.
We have around 1.6 billion unique cookies a month, and around 300, 400 million of them can be put into one category or another, one segment or another.
But I wonder, what does that mean for say, the Evening Standard? Is that kind of 5%? 10%?
Well, so it very much depends on exactly which segment we're looking at. We look at everything by segment. In total, I think we've got there's a good match of about 70%, I think it is, or one of our users will match with at least one of the Skimlinks data segments.
So sorry, just to clarify, so that's 70% of people that come onto your website.
Come onto our site, yeah.
Will have a Skimlinks cookie.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot.
Well,
Congratulations.
We've got quite a e-commerce, particularly around fashion.
No, that's really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next question.
So this is probably more for Emma, but traditionally the adverts that you have in a publishing newspaper, for example, tend to align to the editorial line. So I think Vogue, most of the adverts in there are very aligned to it, or Aldi and The Sun. Do you find that by increasing personalization of your adverts online, it impacts your media brand yourself?
So we still obviously do what we would refer to as being contextual advertising as well, but our point to it is that I'm looking at wanting to buy a house, and I'm also looking at wanting to buy a handbag. I don't stop being interested in buying a handbag just because I happen to be on our homes and property website, as opposed to being on the lifestyle and e-commerce pages on the Evening Standard. We tend to find speaking to the audience and the person, as opposed to just the place, does tend to have better impact for the brands. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. And is it improving the ESI's brand,
yes,
as well as the
so that was the other thing which I would have liked to have gone into a little bit more. It also helps, generally the feedback that comes from advertising is much more positive when it is something that's particularly relevant to that person. I don't particularly want to see, I don't have a car, I have no interest in getting a car living in central London, so I don't particularly want to see adverts for BMW personally. I'd much rather see adverts for Michael Kors handbag or something like that. I'm talking about handbags a lot. Christmas is coming up. If my boyfriend is listening, it's definitely not. But.
Just in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Last question? Okay, go ahead.
So, Martin, how does Skimlinks come up with a number of segments? Like you showed, it looked like 100 of segments, but why not 1,000 or 2,000?
Yeah, I mean, I only showed you this kind of representation that I showed you of the data, the validation thing. We call it a heat map. I showed you one which only had 100 things on there. We've got other ones with 3,000 categories on there, but obviously it's very difficult to just show that as a whole thing. You have to zoom in on individual segments. But we probably have, I think, around 3,500 segments in total, representing different brands, different product categories, seriously fine-grained product categories such as humidifier accessories.
Why do you stop there? Why don't you go more detailed?
Well, there's not, I mean, unless you're talking about specific humidifier accessories, you're not.
It's again, it comes to the investment. As someone using those segments, I want niche, I want sub-targeting, but I'm fine with men's shoes. I don't need men's shoes with a rubber sole that are made in Hong Kong. It's kind of, that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of money for them to be able to.
You wouldn't end up with anyone in the segment, right? You'd end up with two people. It wouldn't be usable.
Okay, sorry, I think. Okay, let's take one more. Fine, but that's the last one. And then we'll move on. We're trying to keep the time this time.
I'm not sure if this is a serious question or not. One thing that really irritates me about targeted advertising is that I keep on getting shown adverts for things I've just bought. Is there any suggestions for how to correct that?
So, Skimlinks refresh data is every day, and their look back very much they vary depending on how much of a oh my god, what is the appropriate phrase? How much the money is that you're putting out? That isn't the phrase. High. What was the word?
Spending rate.
High.
Price point budget.
No, anyway, whatever the word is. So you might look back over a month then, but obviously some things that are slightly smaller, then they'd only look back for a week or even potentially, I think there are some that's only a day. Am I right in?
Depending on the time frame of consideration. Some, toothbrushes has a different consideration period to a
TV.
car, for instance.
So that's one way around it, but I do totally know what you mean. This watch, I had Criteo ads. I've gone in-store, I wanted it there, and then I went into John Lewis and went and bought it on the first day I looked at it, and I got Criteo retargeting ads for about a month afterwards, and they really wind you up. Right-click, ad choices, take me off Criteo, sorted.
All right. Good. Thank you. It was great. We have... Wonderful.